After you got the message, you hit up Big U's wife. You said, "Sis, 911. One sec, let me get Solo." And you gave him a heads up.
What I tell him?
A certain person's wife is intimate with a Paru. You know it's the truth. Paru, dead homies. When I come off it, I'll FaceTime him, right? He's a selfish dude. He can't help himself.
And y'all fell out because he tried to backdoor you on some business?
Yeah, when he went to my label and did what he did.
What if I told you the biggest snitch in the room isn't who you think it is? Suge Knight warned BirdMan years ago. Big U got hit with a federal indictment for running a criminal empire, and somehow the only man who saw it coming, the only man who warned Big U's wife before the feds even pulled up, was Wack 100. Wack didn't just predict it. He told Big U's wife to get him out of town because they were coming. But how did he know? Because this ain't intuition. This smells like intel. Now fans are putting 2 and 2 together, and it's adding up to Rat 100. From suspiciously dropped gun charges to wild wiretap conversations, to his cozy relationship with Tekashi 6ix9ine, this rabbit hole goes deep. Even BirdMan, who once called Wack his partner in the music biz, has been side-eyeing ever since. I'm gonna break down how Sugi, BirdMan, Big U, and Wack 100 are all tangled in this web, and why Wack might be the real villain in this story. Let's get into it. Before the feds kicked in the door, before Big U's name was all over the headlines, Wack 100 made a very specific phone call. Not to Big U directly, but to his wife. According to Wack himself, he reached out and said, "Get him out of there, they coming." Now let's pause right there. What regular person has that kind of federal insight? This wasn't a guess. This wasn't a rumor. Wack knew the exact timing. And the minute Big U got indicted, people were digging up those receipts. Even DJ Academics called it out, point blank. In a no-jumper interview, he told Wack,
But I will say, some of what you may have done may have helped with the timing, right? I think you.
What's that?
I think you tipping off Big U. I think that definitely.
I did what?
Wack didn't deny it. He laughed, shrugged it off, started talking in circles. That's not a denial, that's deflection. And it's not just what he said, but what he said for years. On Clubhouse, on podcasts, on live, Wack had been dragging Big U's name, exposing details about charity scams, industry frauds, and shady money. It started sounding less like gossip and more like testimony. And here's the craziest part. Once the indictment dropped, people realized the feds quoted things Wack said in their paperwork. Wack had been feeding narratives for years, and now the receipts match the case files. It's not looking good, because when you know this much, before it happens, it's giving Fed energy. Let's rewind back to 2006. Wack 100, real name Cash Jones, and his brother were pulled over in Texas. Police found loaded firearms, multiple magazines, and a suspicious amount of ammunition in the vehicle. Felons, interstate travel, and guns. That's federal case material. Easy. But somehow, Wack didn't go down.
They're saying it was him and one of his brothers.
Yeah, I was hearing something like that.
Yeah.
So I hope broski was bugs that doesn't go down like that.
Instead, in 2011, just 1 month after the feds indicted the Main Street Mafia Crips, his case was quietly dismissed. Not because he was innocent. Not because the search was illegal. In fact, court records say his motion to suppress was denied. The search was legal. So why did Texas, one of the strictest states in the US, drop the charges? The court cited, in the interest of justice, which, if you know legal lingo, is almost never about fairness. It's about cooperation. It's the phrase they use when someone gives them something. And right after this, Wack started showing up with more access, more insider stories, more power, but also more heat. People started wondering, did Wack cut a deal with the feds? Did he become a CI to dodge a long sentence? Because here's the truth, nobody just walks away from that kind of charge, unless they're working with somebody. And Wack has been walking clean for years, while those around him keep getting swept up. Even court records show Wack was caught on a federal wiretap during an investigation into the Main Street Mafia Crips. He was talking to a man named Stutterbox, who was involved in a federal probe. In that conversation, Wack didn't sound like a guy out the loop. He sounded like someone helping investigators connect the dots. They even said it directly in the paperwork. Wack claims he was just talking, just vibing. But who else you know ends up on a wiretap, involved in a federal gang investigation, and still walks away untouched? Because this ain't no coincidence. This is a pattern. He keeps showing up around criminal cases. He keeps getting out unscathed. He keeps knowing exactly when things are about to go left. Suge Knight, even from behind bars, still got the juice. And according to inside sources, he tried to put BirdMan on game long ago. In a recorded prison call, Suge praised BirdMan and Cash Money's BG as real ones. But behind the scenes, he reportedly told BirdMan to watch his back when with Wack 100. This wasn't hate. This was a warning from one OG to another.
And his artists and stuff. And hey, PC home.
Yes.
Let's celebrate that.
Big.
You know what I mean?
Shout out to PG.
That's a great thing.
You gotta get him on here.
Yeah, that's real big, you know?
Suge and Big U go back, and Wack used to run with both of them. But over time, Wack started moving differently, talking too much, playing both sides. And Suge saw it early. That's why he pulled BirdMan to the side. Now fast forward. BirdMan, who once partnered with Wack to launch Cash Money West, starts pulling back. Word is that Suge warning stuck with him. When Wack started managing Tekashi 6ix9ine, that was the last straw. Because once a man links with the most notorious snitch in rap history, after already being accused of snitching himself, that ain't good for anybody's brand, especially not BirdMan's. Wack 100 made headlines when he officially took over as Tekashi 6ix9ine's manager. Not just a business move, he had full control of 6ix9ine's projects. In the eyes of the public, Wack went full industry rat wrangler, and BirdMan wasn't having it. In an interview with Bootleg Kev, Wack admitted,
I think the one that then got on me the most, right, is BirdMan. Yeah, I'm a dude to keep it 100. Ain't nobody bigger than the politics. That's my brother, and we get on each other. But BirdMan, out of everybody, BirdMan that got on my ass, like, on me. He told me how dissatisfied he is. He said, I love you, you my brother. I ain't never going against you. You know that. We done been in the trenches together. But God damn it, this the way I feel.
BirdMan was livid. Because in this game, reputation is currency. And linking yourself to the biggest snitch of the decade, when your own name's already in federal conversations, that's dangerous. BirdMan reportedly started backing away, quietly, but firmly. Wack acted like everything was cool, but the industry saw the distance. They weren't tagging each other. They weren't posting about deals. Cash Money West went quiet. And it wasn't just about 6ix9ine. It was about Wack's pattern of aligning with controversial, compromised figures, and always walking away untouched. Word on the street is he even paid Keef D's bail. The same Keef D who's currently behind bars, finally facing real heat for his role in Tupac's death. Wack allegedly dropped that money, knowing full well Keef wasn't just some old head with a mouth. He was a problem, tied to one of the most legendary red rums in hip-hop history. To the outside world, it looked like a fallout. To those inside, it looked like BirdMan knew exactly what Suge warned him about. And as if that wasn't enough, Wack went ahead and publicly accused BG, a Cash Money Records OG, of being a snitch. He went online with so-called paperwork, claiming BG testified in his own case. Mind you, BG was fresh out after doing real time, holding his head and keeping solid. And here comes Wack, throwing dirt on his name like it's promotion. Of course, BG wasn't having it. He clapped back with class, basically saying, I care about the opinions of real ones, not loudmouths with internet Wi-Fi.
I was feeling some type of way, but the niggas who opinion matter reached out to me, you know what I'm saying? Like, cause I've been paying attention to this internet, right? And this internet a fool, you heard me? Like, this shit a beast, you heard me? Like, the internet undefeated.
But this wasn't just about BG. The bigger fallout came from BirdMan. Word is, BirdMan confronted Wack behind the scenes. This wasn't just a business issue, this was about loyalty. BG is family to BirdMan. When Wack crossed that line, he didn't just insult one artist, he disrespected the entire Cash Money legacy. It was another nail in the coffin of their partnership. Wack tried to play it off like he had BirdMan's blessing to speak, but that wasn't the case. The rift was real. As if accusing BG of snitching wasn't enough, Wack took aim at BirdMan and Lil Wayne's gang ties. In one of his wild clubhouse rants, Wack questioned whether they were even really Bloods to begin with. He called their affiliation industry manufactured, suggesting that it was more image than reality.
This shit didn't move like crack. It then got rooted everywhere. And people have took it and created their own uniqueness to fit them.
Now in hip-hop, especially street-connected hip-hop, you don't play with that. You don't question a man's set unless you're ready for war. Wack knew exactly what he was doing. Fans clocked it as another moment where Wack crossed lines just to make noise. But insiders saw it differently. They saw it as Wack testing people's silence. BirdMan didn't respond publicly, but insiders say that move rubbed him all the way wrong. At this point, Wack wasn't just messy, he was becoming a liability.
Blame the label because you couldn't get hot.
No, listen, what? Listen,
Blame the label you couldn't get hot.
My situation was I wasn't selling no publishing, nigga. I was a smart nigga. I wasn't no nigga that was on the nigga. Hold on.
And whether it's Tekashi, BG, or street politics, Wack kept doing one thing consistently, burning bridges, then acting confused when nobody wants to stand beside him. Once the feds made their move and Big U's name hit the headlines, Wack flipped the switch. Suddenly, the man who knew the exact timing of the indictment was acting like he barely knew the guy. In an interview, Wack said,
"This Big U that I'm reading about on the indictment, I don't know him."
You haven't seen him strong-arming random people and whatnot.
I actually seen him break himself.
Wack and Big U were tight for nearly 2 decades. They were in the same rooms, handling the same artists, shaking hands with the same suits. But now that the feds are in the picture, Wack's playing dumb like he never saw a thing. He went on to describe Big U like some kind of neighborhood saint, said he paid for young people's football gear, bought shoes for the needy, and made sure community programs were straight. All of a sudden, it was praise and nostalgia. But the timing was way too convenient. Wack even admitted someone called him before the news broke to the public. He said,
"Because somebody called me a day ago and said she did a TMZ interview." So I know if Harvey's interviewing somebody, he done did his due diligence on who people are.
So are you surprised or are you informed, Wack? Because you can't play both sides. And once the paperwork came out and Wack's old quotes started lining up with the Fed's timeline, he tried hard to reshape the narrative, claiming he was just being a good dude, just telling stories, just giving opinions. But that's not how this works. When the government starts quoting your clubhouse rants in federal indictments, you're either being watched or you're helping them watch. Either way, Wack started creating distance, fast. But the streets already took note. At this point, the receipts are overflowing. Wack 100 warned Big U's wife before the feds even moved. He dodged a federal gun case with no good explanation. He showed up on wiretaps and walked away clean. He threw dirt on BG's name and questioned BirdMan's credibility. And he still had time to manage Tekashi 6991 like it was just business as usual. Suge Knight saw it. BirdMan eventually saw it. And now the public is catching on. Every time a federal case pops up, Wack's name isn't far behind. And every time, he acts shocked, but suspiciously well-informed. So we gotta ask, is Wack just the loudest voice in the room? Or is he the most protected? Because whether he's tipping people off or cleaning up after damage is done, his hands never get dirty. But somehow, everybody else around him keeps getting indicted. The feds move in silence. But Wack 100? He talks too much, and that might be exactly why they keep him around. If you're into the real stories the blogs won't touch and the receipts they try to bury, make sure you subscribe right now. We've got more truth bombs, more hip-hop scandals, and more developments on the way. Trust me, you don't want to miss out.